Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we're taking a look at the Civivi Imperium. Pretty cool knife. Before we get started, disclaimer, this is not a version of the knife that you can buy. This started out as the Jade G10 version of this knife, which I dyed. And if you follow my Instagram at Gideon Stuff, this has come to be known as the popsicle knife on that page. And you know what? Yeah, it does kind of look like a popsicle, doesn't it? Anyways, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into our size comparisons and all that good stuff. Let's start off with a blade length measurement. Get off the thumb stud. So we're coming in at 3.5 inches. So yeah, 3.5 inches. So yeah, definitely a full-size knife, but pretty compact form factor. So, size comparisons. There's a rat 1. There's a rat 2. This fits kind of exactly between these. In fact, it even kind of looks like a rat, just a little bit. Alrighty. Next up, let's go ahead and bring out our PM2. And where'd the bug out go? There's my bug out. A bunch of knives and all kinds of crap on my desk right now. Stuff's getting lost. There we go. And now let's go with our Civivis. There's our regulars, the Elementum, and the Praxis. There we go. And then let's compare it against a couple of other Civivis, just because I like doing in-brand comparisons. Let's go ahead and compare it against one of my favorite Civivis, the Riffle. And let's compare it against another new for 2021 model, which happens to be a front flipper as well. Here's the Lazar. There we go. Cool. So what are we looking at here in terms of materials? Well, like I already said, this handle is G10. It was Jade G10. You can also get versions of this knife with micarta or the gold shred, copper shred, or silver shred carbon fiber. Pretty cool. Steel clip, steel liner lock, like most Civivis. The blade is NItro-V drop point. You can also get this knife in Civivi's Damascus, and well, we'll talk about that later. So there we go. Pretty simple knife. Let's go ahead and go do some cut tests, shall we? All right, let's talk the Imperium. Here it is. So we're looking at a drop point blade of NItro-V. I have grievances with Civivi's NItro-V. It's honestly the only NItro-V I've ever tried. Not my favorite steel from them by a long shot. How's the action? So we have a front flipper and thumb studs that you can reverse flick, obviously thumb flick. Very smooth. Whoops. Very smooth. Nice action. Really good. I like the front flipper thumb stud combination. When I'm sitting around just fidgeting with a knife, I like having the multiple deployment options. When I'm actually carrying the knife to use it though, I just stick to the thumb studs, honestly. So let's talk about the ergos. I mean, they're pretty much exactly what you'd expect just from looking at this knife. The clip, like this clip always does with Civivi, not the best in the hand. Really not the best in the hand, but it's not as bad on this knife as it is on others, so that's a positive, I guess. How's it carry? Let's tilt down here to the crotch cam. This clip, although it sucks in the hand, does work well in the pocket. I cannot deny that. It's reversible, which is good. And then, yeah, the knife itself is pretty slim, so that's nice. Let's do some cutting. Yeah, this knife is a laser beam. Flat grind, but I think, if I remember right from my measurements, this guy's about 14 thousandths behind the edge. Very, very slicey. No complaints there whatsoever. All that stuff over there. Let's go ahead and do some rope action. Nice clean cut there on this very low quality, really crappy rope. Now let's tilt down. Shoop. There we go. Aren't we so high tech here on this channel? Yeah, I know it. This rope stuff is very tough and like very low quality stuff. So it is hard for the knives to get through this stuff. It really is. But it's a good show of what a knife can do when it does get through that. Okay, let's grab our pool noodle next. Very nice. Let's get back to the table. And we're back. So let's go ahead and go over this knife in a little more depth, give my thoughts on what I like and what I don't like so much. Let's actually adjust the camera a little bit. There we go. All right, so first of all, what am I liking? I'm liking that they gave you two different deployment methods. It's a front flipper and thumb studs. I like front flipper thumb stud combinations. I think that's a really, really good way to do things because it gives you the fidget factor of being able to switch between deployment methods while still giving you a practical deployment method, I'll say. I, carrying this knife while I was just sitting around fidgeting with it, I said this already during the cutting, but, you know, it's nice to have the front flipper and stuff. But during actual EDC, when I actually had to pull this knife out to use it, I always use the thumb studs. I do not deploy a knife with a front flipper, just regular everyday carry. So there we go. Next thing, this knife is very plain. It's a very simple design, but I like it. It's a good looking knife in my opinion. It's a little bit, you know, stereotypical Civivi, but it's good. I like the way this knife looks. It's a good looking knife. Next thing, let's talk about the action. The action's very good. Thumb studs work well. Front flipper works well. Civivi, in my experience, always does pretty good front flipper and thumb stud actions. I complain about their regular flipper actions sometimes, but this knife is really, really well done. The detent can be tuned pretty light and work just fine for front flipper and thumb studs. So that's good. Access to the lock bar is really nice. They give you plenty of cutout there. That's cool. The thumb studs are comfortable. Let's get up close here with them. I like these thumb studs quite a bit, actually. These are good thumb studs. The jimping on the front flipper is done well. See how it goes all the way over the top? That's really, really good. I like seeing that. And the G10. I'm not a big fan of Civivi's G10. I've said that before. But I do like that they did the little bit of extra work to do this milling. Yes, it's a little bit dirty right now, but whatever. I like when companies just, you know, make their G10 feel a little bit special. You know, we have like this bolster look, and of course, that inspired me to give it this style of die. But yeah, pretty cool. As you can see in there, this knife is skeletonized pretty well. This is a lightweight knife. This knife carries good. The pocket clip works good in and out of the pocket. The knife is very slender, tucks away pretty well, and yeah, it's pretty lightweight. So that's all really, really good. Next up, the ergonomics of this knife are okay. The pocket clip does not bother me as much here as this clip does on a lot of other Civivis, it's still a pain. I mean, it's still, I can still feel it, but it's not as bad. Probably because this knife is not, you know, quite as narrow as something like the Hadros. But yeah, that was pretty good. Hardware is all T8s, which is nice. We'll talk more about hardware and stuff later. The best part of this knife, by far, is the blade. Or at least the blade geometry. Look how thin that is. I measured this guy. I thought my calipers were broken. I had to measure this guy a bunch. I was getting 10 thousandths behind the edge. That's really, really good. I like that a whole bunch. So, yeah, very good slicer. Really, really excellent all-around kind of general purpose EDC type of grind. That's nice. Pocket clip is reversible. That's good to see. I like that they did the lanyard pin instead of a lanyard hole. I like this. I like even the look of a lanyard pin in a backspacer. I think that looks pretty cool. So, nothing to complain about there. One thing back to the ergonomics, you have two grips. You can hold the knife here, where the jimping here on the front flipper actually does turn into a pretty usable thumb ramp. And then you can choke up here, and yeah, that is definitely a good choil. I mean, a little bit close to that edge there. Maybe they could have gone a little bit bigger, but you know what? It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. So yeah, nice. That's going to be everything I like about the knife. What do I not like? Well, let's start with the with the hardware. So yes, it's nice that they have T8 hardware everywhere except the pocket clip. My issue with that is, obviously I took this knife apart so I could die it. You have to take the clip off to take off, you know, to get to this screw, which I was going to have to take the clip off to die it anyways. The problem with that, though, is if you're just trying to disassemble this knife for maintenance, you have to take the clip off anyways. You don't have to take the clip off when you're just maintaining your knife, but this knife makes you take the clip off to get to that screw. You can't just take it apart from this side because you can't get into the pivot. Unless you want to unscrew the pivot and flip it over and take out those, but that just introduces unnecessary complications. So, you know, that is what it is. Next, taking this guy apart did not go very well, actually. Let's see, which one was it? Either this screw or this screw would not come out, no matter what. I tried putting a soldering iron in there, you know, to heat up the any thread locker that might be in there. That didn't help. I had another knife that I was disassembling the same day, the CJRB Gobi. They had the same issue. I just put the, you know, the hot little metal rod in there, melted Loctite, and the screw came out. It did not work for this knife. I'll throw in a clip of that. You guys know what really makes me mad? I'm taking a knife apart to do some mods, and stuff like this happens. This screw, focus in here, just would not come out. Every time I tried twisting it, this barrel here would spin. So I figured, you know what? Here's what we'll do. I'll put the screw from the opposite side in, and I'll grab another bit, and I'll hold that in there. I'll grab my driver, and this should work, right? Hold still, because I don't have a clamp with me here. I left my clamp back at the ranch. And nope, it's just backing out that other screw. Ah, jeez. I guess I'm just going to have to go and grab some pliers. So yeah, definitely a little bit of an annoyance there. In fact, quite a bit of an annoyance. Next thing, the blade. I know I said I like the blade, but look, it's NItro-V, and I don't like Civivi's NItro-V. I'm not going to go into that here. I have other videos talking about that, go check out my review of the Civivi bow, the knife that shall not be named. I don't like Civivi's NItro-V. I will say this has actually been holding up better than, it's been holding a better edge than my Baby Banter did, and definitely a better edge than the bow held. It has not rusted like the bow did, but it has this same finish that was on the bow and also on the Lazar, and I don't like this finish. They call this a stonewash, but let's see if we can get in there close. It's not really a stonewash, though. To me, it seems more like a bead blast. You can see it picks up scuffs and marks very easily, scratches. Not as bad as on the Lazar, but still, I don't know, I just don't like this finish. It kind of rubs off. In fact, let me try something real quick. I like stone washes because they're, not only do they look good, but they're a nice durable finish. They hide wear, so they're really nice. On my bow that had the same finish, I experienced that when I was trying to clean the knife, the finish was actually rubbing off a little bit. And I've heard this, other people have had this problem too, so I've got some alcohol on a wipe. Let me look at this behind the camera real quick. Oh, this one seemed to hold up pretty well, so that's good. But still, I just don't like this finish. I'd rather Civivi go with a much heavier stonewash. So, yeah. Other than that, what are my complaints? Really, the only other complaint I have is with the pocket clip. And this just because I'm not a big fan of this clip, although on this knife, it's not as much of an ergonomic disaster as it is on other Civivis. It's not recessed to the scale, so you can get clip wiggle, but right now I've got it screwed down pretty tight, so there's no wiggle. But yeah, my biggest issue is just I don't like Civivi's NItro-V, and the disassembly was not as smooth as it could have been. I never did get that screw out, by the way. I just had to dunk this in the dye bath while I was still attached to the scale and then clean the scale real well. But yeah, that's going to be it. Let's go on to my final conclusions. So, final conclusions on the Imperium. I like it. I really do. In fact, this is the first Civivi that I've handled in a long time where I liked it almost right off the bat, and I didn't really find any deal breakers with it as I carried it. This is just a good tool, and I'm glad. What are the changes I would make? Definitely, again, Civivi needs a new pocket clip, but it's not so bad on this knife. One change I might make, I didn't really mention this because it's not a huge issue, but you see the stop pin here. I always like to have my front flippers with a internal or external stop pin because, I don't know, I just don't really like that it's locking up against this. You know, basically, I mean, let's look at that a little bit closer. You know, knife is locking up against this rounded surface. I mean, this isn't a hard use knife. It's completely solidly locked up enough for everything I'm going to do with it. But, I don't know, it just doesn't inspire confidence. So I might change that. And the next thing I change is the blade steel. I would change this to 14C28N. Look, I have talked a bunch about why I don't like Civivi's NItro-V. I just haven't had great experiences with it. On the bow, oh my gosh. Especially NItro-V and the Civivi Stonewash. I'd probably make this a 14C28N with a satin or a better Stonewash. Look, on the bow, it rusted and it didn't hold an edge at all. The edge retention on the bow, it was terrible. The Baby Banter, no rust, but the edge retention was awful. With the Imperium, the edge retention has been okay. In fact, I mean, I haven't sharpened this guy. I've been carrying him, been cutting stuff with him. I haven't sharpened him yet, and he's still really sharp, which is nice. Part of that probably has to do with the geometry, but he has held an edge better than some of the other NItro-V knives I've had. But what that shows me is that there's just a lot of variance in Civivi's NItro-V. If some of it is good and the rest of it is crap, I'd rather they just get rid of it altogether. And this is been okay. In fact, this Civivi does their 14C amazingly. I wish they just used that all over the place. In fact, where'd my riffle go? Where did I put that knife? Gosh dang it. Losing stuff today. Wow, I have no idea where I put it. Jeez, my desk is a mess. Oh, there it is. The riffle's really nice. However, this finish from Civivi, not a big fan of it. It's just not a good stone wash. It really isn't. In fact, wow, that's a spot of rust on my 14C 28N. I've never had 14C 28N rust on me before. Anyways, not a big fan of this finish. They call it a stone wash. I think it's more like a bead blast or something. Whatever. I just don't like it, so I definitely changed that. This knife might also actually be good in Civivi's 10CR15CO MOV steel. I've been enjoying that steel from them. I have that steel in the Hadros, and it's really good there. I like that steel quite a bit. I think that'd be a good choice on this knife too. It's basically VG10, but yeah. So what's the price on this knife? $65 for this version here. I think that's a little bit high. Civivi does seem to be charging a little bit of a premium for their NItro-V. I mean, this little knife here is $60 with NItro-V. The bow was $80. I would much rather, like, if they could put this knife in 10CR and bring it down to the $55 price point, I think that'd be a lot better. I really do. As it is, it's an okay price. I'd pay that price again. It's okay. The variants of this knife are pretty cool. I do like the variants they give you. The name is cool, the Imperium. When I first saw this knife, the first thing I thought of was Palpatine's Imperial Royal Guards from Star Wars. And actually, something I might do is get one of the Damascus versions with the brown micarta and dye it red and call it the Royal Guard. I think that'd be really cool. But, yeah. Also, you see here I have a little, this little dinosaur that's accompanying us for this review. This is the Tyrannosaurus by Terra, by Batat. I chose this guy to be in this review because in the early days of the Tyrannosaurus Rex's discovery, there was a skeleton of Tyrannosaurus Rex that was discovered, but it was erroneously assumed to be a different dinosaur, and it was named Dinosaurus imperiosus. Imperiosus? Ha ha ha. Yeah, I know only like 2% of you care about that, but there it is anyways. But yeah, can I recommend this knife? Yes, I can. This is a really good knife. Action's really nice and snappy. I mean, the Civivi fit and finish is good. You have the customability if you get the JG10. Very, fidgety, which everyone likes to fidget with their knives, right? And, yeah, it's just a good knife. I mean, super thin, super slicey, great EDC. Carries well. I can recommend this knife. 100%. And before I ramble on and on anymore, we're just going to close it off here. So that's been the Civivi Imperium. Really cool knife. It does get a recommend from me. A fairly strong recommend. A little bit pricey for what you're getting, in my opinion. But you know what? I'm glad to see Civivi making something that really does appeal to me. Even though this is kind of a boring-looking knife, in all honesty, it's a good tool. So, yeah, definitely go check one out. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Tell me what you think in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.